Okay, we should be on the air. I'm here with Dave Landau, second fiddle over at Compine Media to the Anthony Cumia show, right? All-round
Yeah.
stand-up comedian.
Yes.
You're from Detroit originally, Dave, right?
I am. Yeah. Yeah. I grew up in a suburb like right on the border, but yeah, I grew up in Detroit.
What can you tell me about Detroit? I've only ever seen a documentary. It was called RoboCop.
What was it called?
RoboCop.
It's that basically. It's more like part two. So it's yeah,
Part two
it's
was drug addiction, right? There was Nuke.
yeah. There was a drug addiction and a nuke, and I don't think I ever saw three, but I think he flew in that one.
I think he was taking on samurais and all sorts. I think that was more of a toy movie. They were trying to sell action figures with jetpack on RoboCop. But besides that, what was Michigan really like? Obviously, you're not a cyborg comedian.
Right. No, I liked it growing up, man. I don't know. It's a middle class city. It's like where the Industrial Revolution started. You know, it's where Henry Ford built the first auto line. So it's definitely like a very blue collar kind of working man place. There's definitely a lot of money there and a lot of huge companies there, and then there's complete, you know, desperation. People that are completely poor, and it's a huge
There's
it's
a
a
huge
huge.
divide.
Oh, there's a massive divide. Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of the people are. You're looking at people that are, you know, billionaires all the way down to people that I mean have nothing, absolutely nothing, and that's part of Detroit. Is yeah, that you get to see a lot of different parts of life. I mean, I had friends that lived in mansions, and I had friends that lived in drug houses off of 7 Mile with their aunts. You know, who I went to high school with. It was a huge difference in the people you hang out with. It was kind of an interesting place to live in that sense.
What was it inspired you living in Detroit to get into stand-up comedy?
Um, I had already I was in high school for about 5 years, and really the only thing I was really good at was being funny. And I always loved Saturday Night Live, and I love stuff like sketch writing and stuff. So when I got out of high school, I joined the Second City Comedy Theater, which is where like Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi and all those people came out of. But this one was in Detroit, and it produced like Keegan Michael Key and a few other people, and John Candy opened it, and that's where I started. I mean, that's where I started in improv and like following comedy.
What year would
But
that have been?
2001,
Would you say John Candy opened it? You never met John Candy. He was gone
no,
before that point, right?
yeah, sadly, huge influence, but he opened it in '93. So yeah, it was just taken over, and then they closed it. I want to say in like 2008 or 2009.
Did you record anything with them?
I did. We did a couple plays. One was called. I co-wrote it with my wife and a few other people. It was called Meet in the Middle, and it was about the gay people and the straight people deciding they didn't want to live with each other, so they created their own towns. And you know, like a straight guy's Subaru dealership went out of business. The gay guy's florist company went under. They realized they needed each other, hence Meet in the Middle, which was also a you know a double entendre for anal sex. And we
Did,
wrote that. Yeah, and that was a musical. But that was yeah. We only did I only did a couple with them though before I just stuck with stand up.
but that was recorded though, dude. That exists somewhere, does it?
It exists somewhere. Yeah, I have no idea where. I might have a DVD of it at home, but it does exist somewhere.
You should rip that and put that online. I mean, you got a YouTube out there. I saw that earlier. I think it's the DT Landau.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you guys in the chat want to follow Dave on YouTube, it's the DT Landau. I'll put a link in the description after the video is over.
Yeah. DTLANDAU for yeah.
What's that about, Dave? Is that the Detox Landau? Were you originally going to do a health and fitness?
No, my middle name's Thomas,
All right.
like the Wendy's guy. So I just tend to put DT on a lot of stuff.
Okay.
But I did detox a bunch too. But yeah, that's
When
not
was
what
this,
that
Dave?
is. Well, I've been in recovery since about 2009. I fell off a couple times, but I started getting sober in '09 for real. I'm a alcoholic and recovering drug addict.
So you were taking drugs. What sort of drugs, if you don't mind me asking?
Um, Cocaine. Uh, I mean, cocaine, ecstasy, LSD, and
So
mushrooms were my
party
favorite.
drugs. It
Weed.
wasn't like painkillers or anything like that. Okay.
No, I took painkillers.
Oh, everything.
I took a lot of painkillers, a lot of muscle relaxers. I actually used to work for a pharmacy where one of my coworkers, this was in like the 90s where it wasn't as regulated and watched, and they'd have like huge tubs of Vicodin and Valium and shit. And we would just kind of steal that. And that's, take Adderall, crush it up on a road map, snort it, that kind of thing. And then
I
ketamine too, which is a cat tranquilizer.
can't stand the notion of anything going up my nose. It just I couldn't even stick my finger up my nose. It just freaks me out. I watched Total Recall. That's the worst film in the world.
Oh, yeah,
But
that is disgusting.
I had a friend one time. He had muscle relaxers and he wanted to take them before he went out. But I think he had some sort of a toiletary problem. Like in between drinking with these muscle relaxers, he had to keep running to the toilet.
Oh, really? Yeah, because Vicodin kind of and painkillers kind of do the opposite. They constipate you. So a lot of
Oh,
people
well,
that are hooked on them have to constantly take like enemas and suppositories because they can't
I wasn't
shit.
double checking his story. Like if this is what he says was happening, I was willing to take his word for it. It was
Oh no, I'm
it.
sure it happened. I say it's just interesting because the relaxers are obviously different than the other ones that people are addicted to.
Well, maybe he was taking some sort of rear end relaxer. I don't know.
Could have
Um,
been.
Tell me this: what inspired you to go to New York City? Was this always a dream of yours?
No, I actually enjoyed doing comedy out of Detroit. I always have. I lived in Los Angeles briefly, and then I moved home when my wife got pregnant. But it was always a dream of mine to be on the Opie and Anthony show. That was
Dave, you
kind
might
of
say I'm being stupid here, but how did your wife get pregnant whenever you were living in a different city?
the mailman, pool
It's
boy.
not the delivery I was expecting.
No, he's much darker, but I think he's going to be tall,
Were
which
you
is kind of.
traveling between LA and Michigan at that time?
I was, yeah,
That's
and
a very long trip, isn't it?
it is, yeah, and I think that it was beneficial because when we saw each other, we would obviously have sex a lot, and then that's how we ended up having a kid. But my wife had cancer just before that, so we really didn't think we could have kids. Plus, with all the shit that I've put in my body, I didn't really think that I was capable of creating a child. So it was kind of a miracle.
I don't know, man. I think the human body is a very resilient thing at the end of the day. I mean, look at Artie Lang. That guy is. I would imagine he gets out of bed in the morning to the Bionic Man sign.
Oh yeah, he's the he's the $6 million man. I mean, if not,
Totally.
actually, if you count what's been in him, it's probably a lot more. But yeah, he definitely.
Very
Yeah, he
expensive
definitely.
ashtray.
Yes, that is that is a very pricey. That's a very pricey pill holder. Um,
Oh,
but yeah, he's. I mean, that's how I am too. My liver was almost shot when I
really?
quit. Yeah, yeah, it was to the point where I wasn't quite yellow, but my enzymes were so high that I wasn't far from it, and my liver's fine now. It's just a matter of taking care of yourself. Yeah, and you're right. Your body is very strong. My lungs are fine. I smoked for 15 years, 3 packs a day. I smoked,
You,
everything that you can imagine. So
you don't smoke anymore, Dave, do you?
no, I quit in 2012.
How did that go for you? That's often the hardest, I hear.
It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Actually, quitting drugs and stuff was a lot easier. Quitting smoking was very hard because I was at 3 packs a day, and I was in LA, and I was doing some writing, and I was sitting at a computer all day, and I
Mm.
went and was about to pay like I think it was like $8 or $9 for my fourth pack of cigarettes, and I decided to lock myself in a room for 2 weeks and just detox.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I was a total asshole. I mean, anybody that came in, I would just like yell and just I was in the worst mood ever. But I'd say after a year, I was officially quit. I felt better. But people ask like, "Oh, so after 2 weeks you were done?" It's like, no, you want one for at least a year.
You never tried any substitutes to see these people running about vaping and stuff these days.
No, I fucking hate vaping. I think it looks so stupid. I
Well,
don't know if
yeah.
it, like I always liked cigarettes because they looked cool.
Well, of course, like you look like a 1940s detective or something.
Right, or just even like Clint Eastwood, or like just yeah, you look kind of awesome. And
I
then
I think I remember hearing that about an actor one time was saying he didn't have any pockets in his trousers. He was really annoyed because he couldn't put his hands in his trousers and he didn't have a cigarette, so he couldn't play with a cigarette.
right,
Just needs something to do, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I with cigarettes, I mean, you used to be able to smoke in comedy clubs. You used to be able to smoke, you
Oh, that would
know.
have been everywhere for you.
Yeah, so I mean, when I started, I could smoke all the time. So I mean, I started smoking when I was 13 or 14, but um, I mean, it wasn't like frowned on the way that it is now here. Like everybody looks at smoking like it's the worst thing imaginable. Where 10 years ago it was very common.
But I can imagine being in LA, living this sort of lifestyle of a stand-up comedian and being in smoky bars or whatever. This
It
this
was
can't have been
it was
easy.
impossible. I didn't live there, but I lived near Burbank, and there was a club there I did a couple times. And I remember you couldn't smoke on the street in Burbank. Like you couldn't even smoke outside where I was
What would
at.
they
So
do?
I there was like a cage, I'm not kidding, in the parking structure where there was like 20 people jammed into it smoking cigarettes.
It's ridiculous.
It's such a hedonistic city filled with drugs and bad decisions, but they really look down on smoking.
What? Because it's a public one. LA, they like to keep all their sins behind closed doors.
Yeah, that's true. They'll, as long as it's, you can have smog, you can have, child rape, but you got to make sure you don't smoke on the street.
Just imagine Harvey Weinstein being like, "What do you
Yeah,
mean you want to smoke in my room? Get out of here! You
yeah,
disgust me."
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. You tell him to stand 10 feet from the door. I got to go jerk off into a plant in front of somebody who doesn't want me to.
Listen, I think if you want to get ahead in this media business, these are training regimes. I've been up to 2 potted plants a day.
Yeah, well, if I'm ever a producer, I know that it's important to take a lot of showers and have a lot of plants. Those are the two things that you need for power in Los Angeles.
What a bizarro life that man was living. Anyway, back to the point. Hey, dude, you seem to have dropped out.
We're back. You there?
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
I
cool.
hear you. You were saying you were a big fan of Opie and Anthony, and you always wanted to go to New York City.
Yeah, I mean, I had been to New York City a bunch. I had done a bunch of TV shows here. I had done like 3 or 4 appearances on Gotham Comedy Live and the one for Comedy Central. I'm actually doing another one this Thursday, but I never got on.
Please dropped out
Sorry,
again, dude. That's all right.
people
You'll
are
try.
being annoying. Hold on, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. I don't know if you can see me or not, but
Well, no, we just got the YouTube image of you, but just continue your story. Let's
anyway,
leave
yeah,
it there.
sorry. Yeah, I'd always wanted to do Opie and Anthony, and it was always people want the Tonight Show, people want Conan, people want that kind. I really just wanted Opie and Anthony. I drove around for years and years and years listening to it in the morning. And when Anthony got fired, I really did not think there was any chance that I would ever be on the show or have the opportunity to be on the show. And because it really, wasn't a thing anymore. And then
Well,
when the
it
Kumian
still
network,
isn't.
no, it isn't. Yeah, and the Kumian network started up, and I subscribed, but I just assumed, that was another thing that I wouldn't be getting on. I had no way of knowing how to get on it. I mean, I knew Bobby Kelly and a few other people, but that was about it. And one day, a friend of mine somehow got on, recommended me. They called me to come do the show, and Anthony and I clicked really well. So for the last 2 years, I've been a regular on the show, and I was very surprised when they asked me to come in and be the third mic of the Artie and Anthony show, because Artie had been actually saying stuff to me about how, like, you should get in here more. We need you in here more often. It would be great. And Anthony was telling me that, and Keith, and I didn't really think it would become anything. I mean, there's so much, smoke being blown in entertainment that I don't trust anything, to be honest. That's nothing against them. It's just you shouldn't get your hopes up in this business. So when I actually came in and signed a contract and had a job there, I'm just shocked. I'm really, really grateful that I got this opportunity.
You did have a rival going into it. There were some people said that there's another man who works at Compound Media was maybe trying to get in there, or maybe he was just talking himself up. Kevin Brennan, you know this fellow?
Yeah, yes, I know Kevin. We got in a bit of a scuffle on Jim and Sam.
I think they may have actually taken that video down, SiriusXM, because I don't think it actually exists on the internet anywhere anymore.
Oh, really?
They probably kept.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
They probably kept it up, thinking it was a work, and then the more you guys talked about it and said, no, that was serious, they had to take it down for insurance purposes or something. I don't know.
It might be. Yeah. Well, I know they did edit out when he went to hit me, and then Kevin said that because when he went to hit me, I moved, and then that part was cut out, and it was a very it was a very ugly incident. But it was kind of it was just two comics that just went too far. Everybody has a bad day, and it just happened that mine had to be recorded. I was just.
Wait.
What's that?
I was just about to say, well, I'm going to let you into a little secret here. I've been trying to get other guests on the show, and I tried Mr. Brennan through multiple means around about the same time that I tried you, and he is insufferable. He is impossible to work with. He will give you the runarounds. Oh yeah, I'll get back to you in 2 weeks. Oh yeah, I can't do that unless this is this. Oh yeah, well I don't know who you are, Kevin, except for the fact you almost had a fight on our national radio show. And I think, to be honest with you, I'm going to name this video "Burning Bridges" without Kevin Brennan, featuring Dave Landau. To be honest with you, so if he gets back at you about that, it's on me. It's nothing to do with you. But
oh yeah, I don't care. It was just one of those things where I'm fine with them. We just sort of blew up on a show and said some dumb shit. Yeah, I don't think it was as. I don't think it was nearly as. In fact, I know for a fact it was not as severe as people made it into. That was kind of the interesting thing, was to watch it snowball based on people's own opinions was a fascinating thing.
Well, I don't think he would have done you any damage if he had even landed a punch on you. He doesn't seem like that type of man. He doesn't seem like a MMA guy.
No, I mean, most comics I don't think are fighters, and to be honest, I don't think anybody in that room is a fighter. When we're all sitting in there together, so just kind of was what it was. It's over now, and I have no issue with the guy. I don't hold on to bad blood or anything, and I think it's probably good that the video's down. I didn't know it was down, but I'm sure there's audio or whatever of it somewhere that plenty of people want to keep on hand. But for me that day, I didn't know if it was staged. I didn't know what it was, and then I just got pissed. So and I'm really not a guy who gets pissed easy. I was just frustrated that day.
Well, these things happen, but rarely does it get to a point where some old Pat Cooper wannabe gets out of his chair.
It rarely does. It rarely does come to fists. I've always noticed that. And if you don't want it to escalate to that, you really shouldn't start it. But it is what it is.
I don't know. I think you guys are just going down a line of nipping at each other, just get some good radio, and it became visual. Trying to make a visual scene on radio is one of the silliest ideas that may ever happen. But you say you're a big fan of Opie and Anthony. That's where some of the best stuff came from. Some of the conflict within the working dynamic. You
Oh,
know,
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Oh, and everybody that was on, and I mean, there were so many different fights on on those shows, and I think more of what Kevin was trying to do though was the old Stern thing, where you stage a beef. It's not really a real thing, but you kind of make it look like it's a real thing just for listeners, and that's kind of what Kevin was doing. I didn't really know that day, but I realize it now. But the thing about Opie and Anthony was all the beefs on there and all the attacking. It's very real. It's very interesting, and I
I
always
think
thought that was funny.
that's some of their best work. Like it is from the moments of I can't stand you right now. Like that's maybe the core of situation comedy is get two or three people together who can't stand each other and then run the script off that. But watching those, I'm gonna say those two guys because I don't think Jim Norton really kicked into later.
Did what? Sorry.
I don't think Jim really raised his head until he was just the man sitting down with Opie.
Yeah, he didn't really argue or fight anybody. I mean, he definitely had a couple moments with Opie, but even the videos that people have put out where it says Anthony and Jim had a screaming match, and you look online, they didn't at all. It's just two friends having a conversation or a slight disagreement. But the stuff with Jim and Opie, there's clearly venom from both sides, and obviously with Opie and Anthony.
I don't understand how he has an audience for the Chip Chippers and stuff. Like, who's going to listen to an hour of that? I don't understand that.
That's what Anthony was saying and Bobby about Riotcast. But people love the character. I just think people enjoy characters. If you look at any, I didn't understand Mrs. Swan on Mad TV, but that was on every week. Or the little kid Mike McDonald, or half the characters like It's Pat on Saturday Night Live. I never really found any of that amusing. But people like characters, and I think
Mm-hmm.
Jim does a ridiculous one that it's hard to not laugh at that, in my opinion. I laugh pretty hard. I'm shocked it's a hit, but I enjoy it.
What is your opinion on Saturday Night Live in this current state? Do you still watch it?
Occasionally, I think it's odd. Trey Parker and Matt Stone were asked why they kind of went a little bit conservative about South Park, and they said, "Well, you have to be counterculture to be punk rock." And I don't think it's counterculture anymore. I think it does exactly what is the mainstream, and I think that's what I don't like about it anymore. I don't. There's definitely skits that I enjoy, I laugh at, but a lot of it has become applause break comedy, where you just kind of pander to what you're supposed to do.
I
And
remember a time before the internet where my awareness level of Saturday Night Live would come from the movies that came from the sketches, like the Blues Brothers or Coneheads or um, Wayne's World was a big one. I'm not sure if that was
yes,
Saturday Night Live, though. Was that?
that was SNL. Yeah.
Those feature length type sketches came out of those small characters, but I don't even know if Saturday Night Live is producing those. Um, what's the last one of that sort of genre of movie you can remember coming out?
Probably, and I guess that is where I will eat my own words a little bit on the character thing. There's definitely ones that are really funny, but I would probably say MacGruber, which is a really underrated comedy, and I don't know, maybe even Night at the Roxbury was a few years before that, but it doesn't. Yeah, they don't crank them out like they did. I mean, I don't even
I don't
know
think they could. That was famous for having Jim Carrey in the sketch, but they couldn't get him back for the movie, right?
which one.
Night at the Roxbury. I don't think.
No, that was
I
Will
think.
Ferrell and Chris Kattan.
Yeah, but I think in the SNL skit, did they not
There
have Jim
was
Carrey?
there was a Jim Carrey one, yes, where he guest hosted, and I think the original sketch,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
was I think the original sketch was all three of them because they were basically just trying to be L.A. cokeheads that went to clubs, and I always thought it was a really funny sketch. The movie's not bad, but
I got a
I
couple.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go on ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, if any thing influenced me really then even more than Saturday Night Live was Kids in the Hall. I used to love that show. But
That was a great show. Crushing Your
yeah,
Head. I remember sitting up late to watch
oh, it's
that.
so funny, man. The Girl Drink Drunk is one of my favorite skits of all time.
Did
Which
you movies that they made? Did you watch the Kids in the Hall movies?
I love Brain Candy.
That was a great movie. When that guy got the bird in the eye, well, I could still go back to that. It's just a ridiculous. It surprises me sometimes that like these guys could get like a budget together and get this done. But I think it's good.
Oh,
I'm just gonna
sorry.
fire some of these
Sure.
stupid chat questions out here to get them out of the way. Um, Vaping's dumb. Do you stay in Anthony Cumia's apartment? Is
No.
the question.
No, I stay under his desk after hours.
All right, you live under the desk like Costanza in Seinfeld.
Yes, just like George.
Uh, that's it. The other one's a question for me about
Oh,
having
that's...
Discord. Who cares if I got that or not? Anyway, let's go back on topic. Have you ever like you've talked about making plays there? I know Eastside Div from Compound Media did like a live read of Star Wars one. That's a great thing, to be honest with you. I could go back and watch that again. That he got so many people involved with that. Have you yourself thought about making anything that's a little bit longer, feature length?
I did. I made a movie called The King that I made in 2013, and it was edited and released in 2015, very independently.
Yes.
Uh, and then that one I kind of just sell at shows. It got into like one of the Trauma Dance festivals and something, but we didn't really submit it much to any festivals. I just wanted to make something and have something to sell and have it be kind of an underground thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. Sorry, go ahead.
What genre of a movie is it?
Dark comedy.
It's a dark comedy.
Yes.
Have you ever thought about releasing it yourself or trying to get it to Netflix or Amazon? Trying to.
I have. I haven't really thought about it in a while, just because I sell it at my shows, and there's thousands and thousands of copies, and I probably get 1 to 2 emails a week that somebody watched and enjoy it. And I'm sure that some people watch it and hate it, but that's just part of making anything. But I have thought about trying to get it on one of those. I just haven't. I haven't tried. I haven't really reached out, just because when we created it, we had this idea that it was in the 90s, kind of sell it like an underground CD in the 90s.
Like a
Just kind
comedy
of,
CD, right?
yes, yeah, like an underground CD or an underground hip hop CD in Detroit. Like when you first started hearing about like Eminem or Royce the 5'9", and you would just get these bootleg CDs that somebody had.
You
I
thought
just
you were
kind of
the
had that idea.
the Eminem of Detroit filmmaking.
Kind of, yeah. I guess it was just kind of a ridiculous way of doing it, but I'm happy with how we did it. I'm happy that there's DVDs floating around, but I definitely would like to see it on a bigger platform.
Even releasing it yourself through, like, I know this is going to sound silly. Like, you've got 500 subscribers on YouTube. Have you thought about putting a trailer up there, engaging the interest on that?
I had a trailer up. I might have taken it down. I think I'll put it back up again. Cockblock Pictures was what we called our company,
Uh-huh.
and I think there's a Cockblock or a Sandwich Seat website, YouTube that still has it up. But I definitely should put more onto my YouTube. I should put more videos on YouTube anyway. I just haven't had a lot of time in the last couple months to do anything.
What's it matter? I mean, we see you're aware of this guy, Zion Z Entertainment. He puts up 3-4 videos a day. He's like the TMZ of Opie and Anthony news, even though Opie and Anthony's been dead for 4 years. He's
Oh,
just
is it?
firing these videos
No.
up every day.
Oh, is it just angry stuff?
Yeah, I don't even think it's angry stuff. He just like he reads the Reddit and then he puts it together as a little video format and gets the message out there of whatever's not happening or whatever's happening today.
I have no idea who. I don't know who that's for. Hey, what's his
Uh,
name? Siz?
yeah, Zai Z. That's what we'll call him from now on. That's how he pronounces it. Don't even worry about it. I think
Sai. What is? I know. I'm just kidding. What is? Where's he from? Siz? Is he? Where's he from? Or is that?
I think he's in Rhode Island, but he uploads 3 to 5 videos a day, and then he does like a live stream and drinks. You know, cracks me up.
I gotta check it out.
You don't have to, man. He'll pastor you. He's
Oh,
in the
okay.
chat right now. He'll probably come looking for an interview after he sees this.
uh,
We got Linda Miller in chat. She says, "Love you, dude."
oh well, thank
Uh,
you.
uh, let's see. Sorry, I'm leaving this to dead air now. So you were a fan of Opie and Anthony, and you ended up on the Kumia show. Have you worked much with Norton, or of course you were on the Jim and Sam show, but were you invited onto that?
I
Do you know
was,
him?
yeah, yeah. I was invited back, and I don't know Jim well. I know him now just through Anthony. I did a couple of his shows, and then I did. He came onto the Kumia show a couple weeks ago, which was a lot of fun. Where he watched a guy get fucked to death by a horse.
Oh God.
Which Jim is a hero of mine, so you know that's the perfect video to watch with with him. He's just that's perfect. You know, that's his angle, sort of, is
I
this that kind of perversion and stuff. And it was really really fun, really a fun episode.
I always remember the video clip of Louis C.K. being forced to watch Two Girls, One
One
Cup, and then
cup,
getting
yeah.
so angry that he kicks a chair over and storms out of the room that they forced him to watch this.
Well, that was the thing is they go, "Have you seen One Guy, One Cup?" or something, and I was like, "No," and they played it right after the guy got fucked to death by the horse, and it is way worse. It's a glass that shatters into his asshole.
I remember these being classics of the internet. This is the problem as a filmmaker, Div. You know, you can try to be as independent or underground as you want, but some guy out there is just going to record something as disgusting as this, and he's going to release it. And how are you going to compete with that? You know?
No, it's nice to know that we've hit a point in society that if you work really hard on like a piece of art in a movie and you release it, it will probably not be as successful as a mason jar shattering into a human's ass.
I love this business.
Yeah, it really makes you feel good about yourself and your choices.
It took weeks to set this interview up, but the only thing people want to watch is a raccoon climbing, as if that's not what a raccoon does anyway. You know,
Yeah, that's true. I saw that yesterday. I couldn't have cared less about anything. It's a
he's
raccoon.
going up the building. He's going to come back down the building.
I'm just surprised somebody noticed the raccoon and then thousands of people joined to watch, then millions.
It's crazy. This is Donald Trump just sat down with Kim Jong, and
Right.
they'll belittle that so much that a raccoon running up a building is more important. It's like, come on, this is a pest. If it
Well,
was a
that's what
rat, would you do this?
that's what I mean. Trump, like him or not, he did sit down with a dictator to help avoid bloodshed, essentially. And now, he's trying to just save lives, really. And then you look at that, and we're trying to save the life of vermin that, like, eat your trash, has rabies. I've been almost attacked by those things just walking out at night in Detroit. Like, I don't like raccoons. Fuck that thing.
Maybe it's just trying to climb you. You know, maybe that's all they do. Just
That's
climb.
true. I think he would have. I think he should have fell. just, just dropped like that dude at the end of Die Hard, and just watched all the disappointed faces as he just von Grubered to the pavement.
You know, the difficult skill in that is falling in slow motion.
It really is. That's true. And raccoons may not have the capacity.
I can't even watch Die Hard without realizing that John McClane and his wife are in real time, but Hans Gruber is in like this
Slow
pocket
motion.
of slow motion.
Yeah, it's
Even when he
hysterical.
starts falling, then he just comes back into it.
Yes.
I think there's like a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie where he kicks a guy in slow motion, but he's screaming in real time. So I just think like in real time, this man must have like a woman's voice.
I
It
think
must be
it's.
so high pitched.
I think that movie is Hard Targets. I think you're right.
I was thinking a kickboxer, but it might
Was
happen
it
in Hard Target
Kickboxer?
as well. It might
Okay,
happen in Hard Target as well. It's been a long time since I've seen that.
it might happen in every Van Damme movie. That could be his
It
thing.
could. It could be a staple. You know, the man's an auteur. He puts a lot of the same things, repeats
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, Universal Soldier, a bit of a tour de force for him, but the rest of it's very similar.
You know, Universal Soldier is a classic. Unfortunately, the second one is terrible. The
It's
third one
really
was
bad.
good, and the fourth one was terrible. They've got like they always say the uneven Star Treks are the worst. I don't believe that, by the way. I think the better ones. But
Oh, the old ones is I like Wrath of Khan. I don't know. That's still.
I like Wrath of Khan, but I like the first one as well. It's really long. You could sit down for an evening and
Oh,
just let
absolutely.
yourself.
Do you like the new ones?
I don't know, man. I tried to watch that new show. I watched the new show, but I think like they just need to get back on the Enterprise, even if it's not Captain Kirk. Like, just get back on the Enterprise and stop messing about. Remake the show, recast people, stop trying to make it about other people. Who cares about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
expanded universe? Who cares
Yeah,
about 50 years before?
it really is a
You know?
show that's supposed to be about the Enterprise. I agree with you completely.
Listen, I was skulking about the YouTube earlier, and I see that you've liked the video. It's the new Halloween trailer. What's your
Yes.
interest level for this?
I have no idea if it'll be any good. I didn't see the second one either that Rob Zombie made, but I didn't mind the first one. But I love John Carpenter. John Carpenter is
I,
one of my favorite directors of all
I,
time. And
I think the greatest thing about the Rob Zombie Halloween was Malcolm McDowell. He was amazing. Didn't he have a
yes,
mustache and everything?
he was great in the Donald Pleasance role. And I think people just didn't give that movie a shot when it's actually pretty good.
Well, do you know what occurs to me from looking at that trailer is he's he's in the petrol station again, putting the mask back on. It looks very similar to what Rob Zombie did. I hope it doesn't look. I hope it's not the same as the Rob Zombie film. If they just scraped a bit of it back and got back to basics. But there's so many of those movies. Like, I think the second one was good. I think Halloween 2 is good. A lot of people don't
Yes.
say that, but like I like the upgrade of the theme. I like the fact that it feels like it just carries on like half an hour after the events of the first one. I think that's a very cool notion.
Oh yeah. Well, I actually love Halloween 3, but it's not a Halloween Mike Myers movie, and that's what people hate about it. But if it was its own thing, the Season of the Witch movie, it's actually a pretty cool movie. But by the time you get to 4 or 5, Halloween H2O, which is really bad, it's all drifted apart from the first. And this is interesting because John Carpenter was furious that Rob Zombie made that movie. And now John Carpenter has come out of the woodwork and he's producing this one. So he approved the script. He thought it was the way Halloween should be. So I am very curious. The only thing that I worry about is with Jamie Lee Curtis coming back and all these other characters is will it be too much of that remake that's just like, hey,
Tell me
look,
this:
we're
you
back.
say you say all these other characters. Who else is coming back outside Jimmy Lee Curtis?
I guess that's true. Donald Pleasance isn't coming back. Isn't there a
I,
character though who from
I
five?
I think the police officer is played by a reasonably known actor, but his name eludes me at the minute. But I can't think who else is coming back. I think her granddaughter is just nobody. Nick
But isn't
Castle.
there?
Nick
But
Castle,
who?
the
But
original ship, back.
is there nobody from like the sequels coming back at all? Because maybe I read that wrong.
I think this has got nothing to. I think Halloween 2 to H2O is all getting written off, and this is
Okay.
just a sequel to Halloween 1. This is as if
Okay.
the last 40 years of Halloween craziness never happened.
I think it'll be a good movie. I hope it's a good movie, just because Halloween is it's the slasher movie. He pretty much created a genre with that, and I'd love to see what he'd do now that he wants to bring it back.
Well, it's funny. Like, I don't think he created that genre, but I think he. This is moving into boring film chat rather than what we began with. But like, it's interesting to me. So the people in the chat who are saying Mike Myers has got to be a cyborg now, you're gonna have to bear with it. I think you got like Hitchcock and Jamie Lee Curtis's mother was the woman in that the Psycho movie. You know, you have that type of slasher movie kind of set before, but nobody really did anything else with the genre. You know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Psycho, I definitely think it's credit for being one of the first, and scariest movies with an actual brutal murder in it. But yeah, I
But you
guess
don't
that
see
is true.
anything. I mean, that's like you can play that at 12 o'clock. You don't see anything. It's all implied.
Yes, it's entirely implied. The only thing you see, I think, is when it circles the drain.
I think what we got to take away from this here is Alfred Hitchcock. You didn't have to stick a jar up your ass.
Well, yes, it's a terrifying audience, and if you watch Psycho today, it's still terrifying. It's still so well paced and so
Totally.
scary the way Anthony Perkins plays him. I mean,
It's a
he
very cheap
also.
movie as well.
Oh, it's extremely. It was just an off. Yeah, it was just filmed in that hotel.
Yeah.
Extremely, extremely inexpensive.
Hmm.
And I mean, he made a lot of movies that I think are absolutely fantastic. Like, I like The Birds actually, but North by Northwest, and I forget the one where Jimmy
North by
Stewart.
Northwest is amazing. With your namesake Martin Landau in it, by the way.
That's
He's very
right.
sinister. You're not related to him. I think a lot of people ask you this all the time, but
I
when
think
you have this
I'm not
name,
related, as far as I know. I mean, there might be some distance thing, but as far as I know, I'm not.
but that's a wonderful film. It tore me up whenever I heard who was the director of the last two Bond films, Sam Mendes, saying, "I think North by Northwest is the original Bond film." I think you're crazy. I think you've lost the plot when you're saying stuff like that. It's a great looking film, but it's a different film to what James Bond should be. You crazy guy.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. Yeah, that's not at all a Bond film. But then again, I'm not a Bond guy. I enjoyed Casino Royale. I enjoyed Doctor No for what it is, but I've never really been a diehard Bond fan.
That's surprising. I would have thought you would have been like the Kumia co-host. You would have been embroiled and know the minutia, the details of every single Bond movie. But I don't know.
I've seen them all a million times, man. But
Yeah,
by the time it got to Pierce Bronson, all my friends and I remember saw it in the theater, and I think we were 14, and I walked out just to go smoke cigarettes. I love the video game on Nintendo 64, but I just find it so boring. Like I think True
well,
Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger is a more entertaining Bond film than most
well,
of
that's
them.
true. But that's back to Jamie Lee Curtis again,
Yeah,
where she was doing that strip tease, and
which
she's a
is
great looking woman.
amazing. Oh yeah,
Yeah, it is.
gorgeous.
Yeah. You could always go back to True Lies too. But then I
Oh,
see her in this new Halloween. Like she's been a woman who's been going for 40 years and never ages a day. I think they've actually put makeup on her to make her look old in this new Halloween.
I think they did too because she was on that TV show Screamfest or something not too long ago, and she did not look that old. So I think they do have to put makeup on to make her look like that.
Is she really is she in her 60s now?
She's got to be.
She must be if Halloween's 40, you know?
Yeah, she's easily got to be.
Like there's no way. Like they gotta have like flaky makeup and straggly hair, everything.
That wig was clearly just some rat's nest wig to represent an old woman who's just been going crazy about her brother for the last 40 years.
Mm.
just white hair and she's shooting a gun in the trailer
Oh
and just
yeah,
practicing killing him.
she's getting ready for the big confrontation with
Yes.
her brother.
Yeah.
Lost an eye. I don't know. Like I've got a bit down the line on talking about this movie now. Uh, Someone says Jamie was in The Fog. I don't think she was. I think that was Barbara. What's her name? Barbara Bedard?
Did she have a small role? Because I don't remember her in
I
it.
don't remember her in The Fog.
With John Carter? Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, speaking of another John Carpenter movie, this is one I never ever bothered to watch. Is Christine, but I think
Oh,
it's
she
because
was in The Fog. She was in The Fog. Sorry.
no, you're all
Kath.
right.
Yeah, Elizabeth Soley. Yeah, she was in The Fog.
It must be a tiny part.
Yeah, because I don't remember that.
I don't either. I never find much time for Christine, but I think that's because that's Stephen King's story. It's probably
Yeah,
good because Carpenter did it, but anything by Stephen King is just not for me. Like this fascination about it.
I like it. I love Stand by Me. I love.
I suppose Stand By Me's King's story. I think he's better if he's just not doing the horror story. I know that sounds crazy because that's where he makes his name.
No, you're right. His three best movies are The Green Mile, The Shawshank Redemption, and Stand by Me.
I would argue that Cronenberg's The Dead Zone is up there for me,
Oh,
but
that's really good. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
I
but
think they
that's
kicked him off it. I think he tried to toss in a script and they tossed him out the door and said, "Get out of here, you crazy."
I was gonna say I don't even put Stephen King in with that. It's because once Cronenberg's on there, that's the director who gets the horror credit.
Yeah,
He's just one of the masters of horror. And God, I'm trying to think of the movie he made years and years ago about the STD virus that takes over the hotel.
with the
Shivers.
intestines. Yes, I
Yes,
remember that.
Shivers.
That's almost Dawn of the Dead like in the sense that they must have got the hotel location and permission to film it, and then just went to town with. They must have started. Okay, we got these scenes in the script. Where could we place them within this building and go as fast as possible? You know,
Right.
because it looks like a working hotel. Like I don't think they've got any budget. Like it doesn't look like they have any budget. Just
No, and they're
it's
doing
again.
some like creepy sex stuff like in the hallways, like, and you can tell that I'm sure scenes were rushed. So yeah, I think you're right about that. It was probably an operation the entire time they were filming.
I mean, I've listened to some interviews with Cronenberg, and he was talking about Videodrome and how he was really pushed for time. Are you there, Dev? He was
Yeah, I
really
am. Sorry about that.
no, you're okay. It's just the
Yeah,
Wi-Fi.
it keeps cutting out in the Wi-Fi for some reason.
I think it gets to a point where he has to spend his budget that he's got from the government, and he has to like essentially waste that before a certain date to fulfill his end of the contract. So I think a lot of times you imagine there's a lot of plan going into something like Videodrome, but he's still figuring it out on the set. He's still, I think this would be a better idea. It's like there is no real end goal to what he's doing. He's just taking you on a little trip.
Well, and most of his movies are shot in a way where a lot of them look expensive, but it's just because the locations are real, like Eastern Promises. A lot of that's just shot
I never watched
outside.
that. That was about the Russian, right?
Russian Mob, yeah, it's good. It's definitely a Cronenberg movie because a lot like what I like about A History of Violence is it's essentially somewhat an action movie or a mob movie, but the violence is just so graphic and brutal that it can only be Cronenberg.
Yes, that was the one where the guy from Lord of the Rings was uh, an ex-enforcer or something.
Yeah,
He
is
had
it
a hidden past.
Vigo
Mortensen, yeah.
Vigo Mortensen? Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, he's great in that movie. I love that movie.
Do you know a movie he is great in and nobody ever talks about? Uh, Prophecy with Christopher Walken and Eric Stoltz.
That's actually a movie I really like. I didn't like the last 11 of them, but the first
I
one.
know what you mean. I saw the DVD one day, part two, part three. No, what's this? You got no budget, but Walken's back.
It,
Okay.
they just paid for Walken and his black hair dye, and that's it. You know, that's the whole budget of the straight to DVDs.
I haven't seen the first one in such a long time, but I think Mortison's the devil and that says something crazy like, I'm gonna lay you out. Get my
Yes, yeah, I don't remember the words, but yeah, it's
says something like that.
yeah, I like that movie. It's a ridiculously fun movie. I watched it like a year ago because I hadn't seen it
Uh,
since '95 probably, and I
I don't
liked
think
it.
I'm making this up. I think it might be story by the same guy who did Highlander. It's got the same sort of notion of soul transference going on. I think it might be the same guy who wrote Highlander.
It looks
Wrote
like it
that.
was shot by the guy who did Highlander, so it's very possible because it has that same feel. I don't know how to describe it, but it definitely has that
Okay,
same pacing.
could be. I think Russell Macaulay, an Australian guy, was the guy who did Highlander. He did The Shadow
Okay.
as well with Baldwin.
Oh yeah, I saw that in the theater when I was a kid, and I did not like it or grasp it. I'd probably have to watch that again.
I think it's just a Batman film. I think the guys who made Batman for the comics, they actually stole a Shadow story, and then 60 years later, Batman's a hit at the theater, so they put the Shadow into the theater, and it's just the same sort of nonsense, you know? The guy in a cape beating people up.
Yeah, that's all I remembered about it was, and I really liked superhero. I loved superheroes as a kid, but until Batman, or other than Michael Keaton and Batman, I just didn't enjoy anything. Really, you know, I enjoyed the first Superman, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Superman 2, I like. Superman 3's fairly crappy, but Pryor's in it, and Superman 4 is probably the worst movie ever made.
You,
But
that's
Street
that's
Smarts
that's a
came out of
lie.
it.
I think it's maybe the first movie I ever owned a VHS of is Superman 4, and
Okay.
I thought it was all right, but they had no budget. Like they, I think there's a really good fight in the moon and stupid stuff like that.
Right. Well, and Canon Pictures said, you know, we'll make Street Smarts with you and Morgan Freeman because Christopher Reeve really wanted to get that made, but like you have to make Superman 4 so
What
they
was
could get some
Street
money.
Smarts?
Street Smart is about a reporter who starts trailing a pimp to find out what pimp life is, and Morgan Freeman plays the pimp.
I'll need to
And
take a look at
it's,
this.
dude, it's great if you have not seen it.
There was another movie I heard Reeve. Do you remember the one where he was time traveling?
Christopher Reeve or Morgan Freeman?
Christopher Reeve is time traveling. Morgan Freeman is trying to time travel his words back right now, but it's not going to happen. You know,
Yes,
it's right there.
he really wishes that he hadn't sexually harassed so many people. But I think he'll be fine because he's Morgan Freeman.
But there was a movie. I think Jane Fonda's in it. Not Jane Fonda. Who was Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman? This is just going to become Let's Remember Movies. The
I know it really is.
podcast.
Which I could do all day, which is fine.
Yeah, I know, but like
I don't know.
this is a stupid movie, and it plagues me that I often remember it because Christopher Reeves is in it, and he's in a room, and he just imagines himself back in time until he's back in time. Like
That's crazy. I have to.
it's
I gotta
so
watch
stupid, man. It's so silly. And then he
what is
falls.
it?
What's it
He's
called? It's like
I've never heard of it. And I've heard of most movies, and
it's,
unless I have, and I don't remember it.
Christopher Reeves is in some of the best stuff ever, and nobody ever talks about him. Or if they do, they talk about the Neck Break or Superman. Right? He
Dude,
has.
Christopher Reeves just taking off his glasses in Superman and like making him like lifting his chin up to make himself like more of a man is like this
Oh
amazing
yeah, make
character
himself taller,
choice.
right?
Yeah, his character choices as an actor were absolutely incredible, and yeah, he does not get any credit for how great of an actor he was.
I remember a Tales from the Crypt episode, all-star episode with Christopher Reeves, where he is cannibalizing people and selling them back to. Like,
Oh,
he's running.
really?
Yeah, he's running out of food, so he has to kill someone. Then he can't get rid of the body, so he just starts cooking it and serving it to all his customers. And it's like the telltale heart or something because he's like very guilty about everything that's going on.
I do remember that one. I have it on DVD. I don't remember the name of it though, but I do remember the Tales from the Crypt one. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Did they release Tales from the Crypt? They'd be stupid not to, right? I heard they tried to come back with Tales from the Crypt, but they couldn't get rights to do something. Like, what rights do you need to do? I mean, like, just
Well, it's really what's
you
crazy
got
about
a
that is
narrator, write the silly story, get the
well,
actors in.
and Tales from the Crypt is just Tales from the Dark Side, which was the Twilight Zone. I mean,
Yeah,
it's all the same thing. It's just this one has a puppet reading to you.
Outer Limits. It's all
Yeah.
different. I don't know if they were different channels or if they were just selling the shows under different brands.
Well, I went back because I bought this horror thing off of Amazon called like Scream or Screech or something, or Shutter. It's called Shutter, and you get a bunch of horror movies, and it was like $4 a month, so I bought it.
Ah, I think
And I forgot it, but there's what movie we were just talking about? I don't know why I'm blanking.
we were talking about Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, I went back and I rewatched like the early '80s Tales from the Dark Side, and they are fucking terrible. They are
Bad
just
or
the
horrific?
just the first season has watchable ones, but it's mostly just very terrible rehatches of the Twilight Zone. But the rest of the seasons are just god awful. They're unwatchable, and it's interesting because Tales from the Crypt, almost every one of those episodes, at least to me, are enjoyable.
I remember 2 episodes of Tales from the Dark Side specifically. One was a guy who was trapped in his house trying to get smoke, but his house wouldn't let him out until he stopped smoking.
Yes,
Such a silly.
yes, I watched that one the other day. Actually, yeah, he's
And
trapped inside.
there's one with Christian Slater, and his granddad doesn't believe he's dead, so he keeps walking around, and nobody can convince him that he's died. It's such a
And yeah,
ridiculous concept.
and those are
But
both season one actually. Where once you get into 2 and 3, those are like pure gold compared to what they came up with.
no, but like I think those are interesting. Those are cool concepts for
Yeah,
getting a short TV weirdo play made.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah. That's what I
I
mean.
don't, I
Like the
don't.
season one is very watchable, but very entertaining. But yeah, I don't know why it falls off. But I always love the idea of Tales from the Crypt because of the guest stars, and you would have I can remember one Joe Pesci played twins or
Really?
Joe Pesci pretended he was a twin so he could have sex with twin sisters, and then they murder him. There's so many so many great episodes. Like the movies I didn't really like, Demon Knight
Look,
or Bordello of Blood. They're
you,
kind of
you,
terrible.
hey, I love Bordello of Blood. Dennis Miller.
Is
He's
it
got
good?
some.
I haven't watched it in like
Dude,
20
it's got
years.
Corey Feldman and Dennis Miller, and Dennis Miller has some of the like. This is, I, in some ways I can't stand Dennis Miller now because I can't find a comedy CD of him. I'm not going on my way to look for it because my memory of him is Bordello of Blood and the lines he was delivering in that, like where he was arguing with a guy at the pool table and he says, "Let's step outside," and Miller's just like, "I don't need a blowjob right now. I'll catch you later."
I loved Dennis Miller at that time, man. He was incredible. I got to open for him once too, and that
Well,
was a
what's he
highlight
like?
for me. Well, he's a dick, but that's
Is he, or is it an act? Is it part of his character? You know, is he
yeah. I don't want to.
selling you?
And I'm saying that not in a way of like, guy's a total dick. He's just Dennis Miller. I don't know how else to put that. He's exactly what he is. He's not. He's always been a somewhat cold guy. He's kind of that guy. He's just sort of goes in, does his job, leaves, and that's about it.
But that's the thing. Like Bordello of Blood to me, like I could have stand to see Dennis Miller in more movies. I think he could have carried them. To be honest with you, I
Oh,
would have watched
he's,
them.
some people don't like this movie. I think Joe Dirt is very funny, and Dennis Miller as the radio host in Joe Dirt is kind of what steals that movie for me.
Well, I haven't seen that. Is that with Dave Spade?
It is. David Spade's this white trash guy, and
I I want to take this back because whenever you were talking about Joe Pesci pretending to be twins, there was this terrible sitcom called Just Shoot Me, with Dave
Yes.
Spade, and
It's
it was
yeah.
awful. But
Yeah.
then out of the woodwork came this one really memorable episode where Spade is so effeminate that he tries to convince a lesbian that he's a woman
Right.
just to go out with her. It's such a ridiculous concept. Within itself, I could have maybe stand to see like a 90-minute movie of that, where he gets to the very end and he's in a hotel taking off his clothes, wondering how he's going to follow through with this. It's just it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, I've seen that episode. That was just such a bad show where they all worked for a glamour magazine with Brooke Shields.
Was she in that, or was that another show? I can't remember.
I think it was Brooke Shields, and it was bad. They had one other episode where David Cross came on, and he had been taking money from his brother for 20 years because his brother injured him as a little kid. But it turned out that he had just been faking this like mental retardation for the last 20 years, and it was kind of hilarious at just how insensitive the whole show was.
We're getting deeply criticized in the chat here, saying we should call this video "Member Berries." Where we're just,
I'll go. I say Member Berries is a good title.
No, I'm telling you, I'm doing the Kevin Brennan title just to piss him off because he's so passive aggressive. The only way to fight that is burning bridges. We'll fight Kevin Brennan featuring Dave Landau, and this will annoy him so much that he'll have to get back in touch, and then he'll have to do the interview. I'll change the title if you do. This is the only way to deal with this Irish passive aggressive nature. I know.
That might be true.
Fight fire with fire. Fight fire with fire.
You call it Kevin Member Berries. Speaking
of other interviews, I sent a second email into Compound for Mr. Kumi himself, and this time they sent me back an email saying essentially, "Don't call us, we'll call you." Right. We'll get in touch if this is of interest to us later.
I'll tell you, you might get Kevin.
I've tried to get Kevin a number of times, but he's hard work. I think he's old school. He wants to show up to a studio and do it live. You know, like record it in a studio or have a sit down and be in the same place as you. But it's just not functional in this 24/7 world that we're living in. You know.
Right. No, I get that exactly. Yeah, it's very hard for me to figure out like what time to meet up, and yeah, I mean, I enjoy just going and meeting at the studio and doing that stuff. But yeah, if you're not on that schedule, it's impossible.
I put a reminder in my calendar the other day to remember to call my mother for her birthday. It never pinged up. I get all these notifications from Twitter and stupid stuff, but then like actual important stuff where I gotta ring my mom.
Right.
Then I have to tell her it's technology's fault that I didn't remember to ring her.
Right. Oh, I get that. I suck with all this stuff.
Hey, as long as you're still going, it's all good.
Yep.
So, Dave, is there a chance that you could be doing double duty with Compound? Would you be doing your own show at all? Have they talked to you about that?
No, I wouldn't even want to. I like being a co-host. I have to do way less work and just chime in on funny stuff, and it's very good for me. And
tell me this, though.
It's the flagship show, too. You know, that's pretty cool to be a part of.
So, tell me this, though. Like, whenever Artie was there, how did you find it? Was it easy, or was it difficult? Did you have to be on your guard to try and outdo Artie and Kumia?
When I first went in, I mean, it was definitely intimidating because it's Artie Lang. I mean, the dude's a legend, and I didn't know how he was in person. And, I mean, he's the nicest dude, so... no, I mean, I just kind of would play off of each of their jokes, and once we were getting going on something, it was very easy to just go joke, and Artie would crack me up. So I wouldn't say it was easier or harder. It was just different. It's definitely a little bit more calm now because the way they do radio is different. Artie is rapid fire, and Anthony's the funniest dude out there, but he's definitely more of an interview and a broadcaster. Where Artie's
I think sometimes
a great second mic, you know.
Artie could be very domineering. I watched the episode with Matt Iseman, and it was hard for Iseman to get a word in edgewise. Did you ever find that? It was
Uh,
hard for you to get a
no,
word in.
not really. I mean, it's definitely easier now, but no, not really. I think the dynamic between Artie and Iceman was Artie constantly ripped on Iceman, and that's what's just enjoyable about it is Iceman could barely get 4 words out
But
before Artie
yeah,
would jump
do
on
you
him.
think Artie had gone in with that in his mind, thinking I'm just going to keep this guy down? He's not going to get. He's
No,
not going to get up.
no. I think there's just that guy that you enjoy to make fun of because they'll take it. And Iceman and Artie had that quality, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
he seems like a good guest. He's always enjoyable whenever I hear him.
He
I
has
was
fun.
following him on Twitter, but he just talks about this ninja assassin stuff all the time. I know it's his. Hey man, don't pick your nose on a string. We'll get kicked off YouTube.
I had to do it.
I can't.
I wanted you to see it.
I thought I told you I can't stand the idea of stuff going up the nose. I can watch
I
people sticking
know.
jars in
Well, it's actually I
anything, but
wasn't picking it. I had an itch right here, so I wouldn't
I
pick my
was just
nose in front of you. Just an itch.
just a little itch. I understand.
So yeah, it's bit of an itch. I apologize. I
It's all
wasn't
right.
full in like a savage that I see on the subway trains all the time.
Oh man, are they bad in New York? Do you notice a difference?
Dude, people are disgusting. They're just
Are,
fucking
are,
disgusting. Like I don't want to touch anything. They pick their nose and they'll just hold the handrail. They'll fucking cough without covering their hand. Like I'm already germophobic, but having to deal with it, it's just, dude, it's disgusting.
do you
It's
think
upsetting.
these people just regard the train like a non-place? Like it's like they haven't left their home yet. This is just part of them getting to wherever they need to be, and then the full person is going to come out. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
they're just like, I don't care who any of these people are. I'll pick my nose or I'll sneeze all over the place.
I don't know how you could. Oh god, yeah, I think they are like that, but I don't know how you can have like such little manners to where you just behave like that. Like, and then I'll see girls who get on the train with no shoes on and stuff, where it's like you're walking around the dirtiest city on earth like this. Like I don't understand. It's just I hate them all. That's what I'm driving at. I
I think
really
it's a desperate slope, but once you start making these concessions, uh, like I'm wearing flip flops at the minute. You know, once you start going down this path of no respect for yourself.
right. You're wearing flip flops on a like. If the dude on a plane next to me is wearing flip flops, I'm upset. Let alone walking around New York City and then you just have people coming up to you who are like, "You got $1?" Which I don't mind if you ask me, but don't have your face filled with food and like be spitting when you ask. Like, I hate it, dude. I would.
You got to reverse that. I was like, no, do you have $1?
Oh yeah.
You just
Some
got
of
to
them
keep
are.
reversing it.
Some of them are very well dressed.
Even
It's
if you're not
upsetting.
smoking anymore, just ask these people for smokes. Have you got $1? No. Have you got a smoke? Can I get a smoke off you, man?
That's
Just
what I would do.
reverse it
Just
straight away.
break it. Yeah.
Just to break it and throw it straight in their face. Take
Yeah.
one draw of it and then throw it down.
That's
There's
how
your
I see it.
smoke right there.
I would love to do that, just to ask people for cigarettes, homeless people, and then break the
That's
cigarette.
like something I could see Dennis Miller doing in a movie, but I don't know what the movie's about. That's the sort of part I could see him play.
He could
Something I could see him.
he'd be kind of a superhero who wants everybody to quit smoking.
He's just going up to people. This is. I don't know how we're going to get 90 minutes out of this, but we'll see what. But back to the point. You have access to let's not call them talents, but definitely characters. You know, at Compound Media. Would you think about writing something and trying to get people together like Eastside Dave did with the Star Wars show that he put on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always had kind of an idea to do like a sketch show or something of that nature, which I think would be kind of funny,
What,
especially like Old Fire Sign Radio, I think it was called.
Old
But
Fireside or
is it
Fireside?
Fireside? Sign
I don't know.
Fireside? And then National Lampoon Radio is always something. You know, that's
Of
where like
course.
Belushi and Chevy Chase came out of, and I think it would be a fun. Obviously, Monty Python. But it would be kind of fun to do like those sketch albums again, or even put out a sketch show where people were different characters. It might be an interesting concept.
I think so, definitely. Like having the access to, like, I'm making a joke, obviously, about but having access to such willing performers, like I think Eastside Div put himself on the line with the Star Wars adventure that he did, but I wish he would do another one. I think that type of that type of that was a weird, and it wasn't quite what Compound were putting out. He just released it on YouTube, but I think it was a strong piece of work, if that makes sense.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
trying
I
to come
mean,
up with a good wording for it.
no, but it proves how much people enjoy it. I mean, you remembered it, you want him to do it again. I mean, doing little interesting things like that just to see if they hit, I think is a very cool thing. And Eastside Dave is definitely a really innovative guy. He really does a fascinating show, I think, and I think that's a cool thing that he did too.
Yeah, I think you got access to a lot of good people. I think you could put together something that's really entertaining.
Yeah, I would love to, and I think it would be interesting to put out like a sketch thing that just was more of the counterculture right now, or more of the anti-PC, or something, just something that was a little bit more ballsy and funny, because nothing really exists in the mainstream like that anymore. And like we talked about, Kids in the Hall and some other, like all those shows were really irreverent, and that's what I loved about them.
But something like of the Saturday Night Live stuff I see now. I don't think it's irreverent. I think it's infuriating sometimes that they're wasting time. But I think in the case of like having Baldwin as Trump, they have to use him because they've signed him up. Like he's living in New York and he's coming in every week and he's doing his Trump impression, so they have to write a sketch about Trump every single week.
Well, and he's always been, I mean, he's always been great on SNL. He was part of 30 Rock, so he's always been part of that family. So I kind of get doing that. But I think a lot of the sketches are just sort of weak around that. But one of the best sketches I think I had seen was the Black Jeopardy, where Tom Hanks played the redneck. And it turned out that they had the exact same mentality across the board. I thought it was a really interesting,
It's a couple
funny.
of years ago now.
Yeah, I mean that's sad because that's the most, I think, relevant one that I can think of in the last couple of years.
What's Tom Hanks doing these days? Is he is he
I
still
loved
making
I
Da
love
Vinci
Tom
Codes?
Hanks, but he makes shit movies now. Yeah, like he just made one. It's like The Paper with Meryl Streep and the Da Vinci Codes and
Hey, there was. I think the first Da Vinci Code was good. The second one was good when he was trapped in a library and he was running out of air. I find that to be a very tense scene. But then the Pope's parachuting and stuff, and it's just ridiculous. But if I could just get that 10 to 15 minute scene and watch it on YouTube, that'll do me for the rest of Tom Hanks's adventures.
Yeah, the first one. I mean, it was what it was. I had trouble getting past that haircut, but I just that curly mullet
He's like
thing.
long-haired Superman, right?
Yeah, it's just gross. I just wanted to just punch it off his head. But other than that, it was, yeah, it's an alright movie. I mean, I also like him in Lady Killers, and people hate that movie. So I tend to like some Tom Hanks stuff people detest.
I can't think of very many movies of interest that he's done lately. I'm sure it's about time he went back to something they did to just
Cloud
do big
Atlas is
again.
really bad,
Do
really
big
bad.
again.
Yeah, they should do Big again or some version of it. I'd watch it.
Do big too, where he has to guide someone or someone comes looking for him. The
Yeah, I
son of
think.
the son of the ginger kid becomes an adult, and the ginger kid doesn't believe him, so he has to find Tom Hanks to convince him. Would this
Oh, that's
work?
not a bad idea. Is that kid still alive?
Who cares? Just ginger
Yeah,
guy.
that's true. You just need a redhead. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
like I don't know. I think we've got a plot here for Big Two.
Yeah, and I
We could
think
run
we've
with
also
it.
found out why child stars are so replaceable and turn to drugs, suicide.
It wouldn't matter though because Tom Hanks was the adult, and he'd if you have a different age to that guy, you'd have to like make that kid up to look older, so he's on par with Tom Hanks.
Yeah. I say we
Damn,
do it. Big two. Is Penny Marshall available? Is she still alive?
that was Penny Marshall.
The director, or was it? Did Gary Marshall? I think it was Penny Marshall directed it.
Gary Marshall, not a cowboy. Is he not a western star? Or am I
Uh,
just thinking this
no,
because of his
Gary
name?
Gary Marshall. I know is dead. He was, I believe, her dad. I could be wrong.
Penny
And
Marshall.
yeah, but I believe Penny Marshall directed Big.
Why do you retain the director of Big? It's obscure. Like, how do you? What else did she do?
A League of Their Own, maybe.
That's with Hanks as well. That was very talked about when it came out, but nobody watches it now. Never hear
Yeah,
about it now.
yeah. Penny Marshall directed it, and yeah, she did A League of Their Own, Awakenings. But now she's doing TV like The Odd Couple and other garbage. But yeah, for a long time she had tons of hits. Oh crap!
I
It's
don't
one.
know. Oh,
Apparently,
sorry. Have I kept
no, you.
kept
No,
you?
I might have to split in a minute. She did get. Oh no, she directed Get Shorty, but it was uncredited. It's weird.
Got Shorty.
No, it says Barry Sonnenfeld. Maybe she directed a scene. I don't know. That's
Wasn't
bizarre.
there a sequel to Get Shorty? Maybe she
Yeah,
directed a sequel.
yeah. There was one with The Rock and Cedric the Entertainer.
Is Travolta back for that?
I don't. No, maybe he was in that. I don't know. I think maybe like
What was that movie about? Was Travolta trying to get a movie made, and DeVito was the actor or the producer?
Yeah, DeVito was the actor. Yeah, I think Gene Hackman was the producer, and DeVito was the
Was
actor. And yeah, he
Hackman
was
doing
trying to get a
anything
movie
with?
made.
Was Hackman doing anything with plants in that movie? I gotta go back and watch this and
He
see if there was
was.
like a
He was.
Illuminati style
Yeah, he was jerking
coded
off in
messages.
plants. Yeah. There's a lot of plant masturbation in Get Shorty, if I remember correctly.
Look,
But yeah, I
look at
think it
this
was.
guy. This guy's in the chat, and he's saying, "Ask him if he gets $200 a week, and his thoughts on Artie getting fired." This is Cyan Z. He just wants his TMZ. He's going to take this video and he's going to turn it into his video and go, "Dave Landau says Artie
Yeah,
Lang got fired, and he gets $200 a week."
Artie is doing fine. We're still friends, and so is Anthony. So I really have no idea. That's not my thing. I don't know.
No,
That's what.
he's a little
That's whatever
TMZ.
they decided on. And yes, I make $200 a week.
Let's play it down. There you go. You got your soundbite.
That's if. Yeah, there you go. That's if I'm at every show. I get $200 a week. Like last week, we had a death in the family. I had to pay them, but usually, I will make $200 a week if I'm there every day.
You have to pay them to keep your seat. It's like a time
Yeah,
deposit.
yeah.
Tell me
Like
this though: how much are you working during the week or weekends? I see you have a pretty busy schedule on your website, including what is this private show? Is this like a what are you doing at these private shows? Is it still stand-up comedy, or is this like are you a gigolo as well?
Dancing, yes, mainly dancing, and depending on what you pay, it costs me a lot to go gay, at least double, but it's $43 for the girl, and I dress how you like. I show up dressed as a cop or just like a chimp on roller skates. It's pretty sexy. Yeah, they're just comedy shows. They're private events. They're fundraisers or they're corporate shows where a corporation has hired me to come in. That kind of a
But
thing.
it's an audience. It's not like a room of 5 people or something like this live stream is more viewers.
Yes, it's more
It'll
people
pick
than
up
are
here.
listening now. I got to jump off in a second, but yeah, it's
Hey, it's all right.
yeah. I
But
apologize,
how many
but
shows are you doing? Would you say on average a week?
I mean, I get up in town a lot, but for the last 15 years, I mean, I'd say I've done 3 to 6 shows a week on average, at least
On
5
top of
on
the
average.
2 hours of compound. It's quite a busy
Uh,
schedule you're keeping.
this week, yeah, I probably do like 3 to 5 a week still.
This is quite a busy schedule. Are you finding you're getting more shows in New York than you were in Michigan, Detroit?
I've always been pretty lucky with getting booked just on my reputation, so I've always been booked about a year in advance. But
Oh, that's
now that I'm in New York, I'm definitely getting more New York offers that I live here, which is going to be kind of more to stay home, if you will. And yeah, I've definitely been doing more New York stuff than I did in the past. I mean, I did New York quite a bit before, but I obviously do it even more now.
what does that feel like as a stand-up comedian? Obviously, you're a big Opie and Anthony and Opie fan, so you must have listened to a lot of these New York comedians and oh, we're hanging out in the cellar and all this. Do you feel like you've entered into a soap opera world or a movie world, like a fantasy world that you shouldn't be part of, or like
I
you've crossed over to the other side of it?
Yeah, it's definitely odd that I show up to like one of my hero shows every day and just do comedy, and I'm allowed into certain places that I didn't. I should say that it wasn't in before, but there's definitely a different group that I'm in with now, I guess, if that makes sense. But
Hmm.
I like all comedy. I feel like I'm just at the end of it. Like at one time, it was this huge, massive thing, and now you're just kind of like, wow, the comedy's still there, where all this stuff happened, and who knows what'll happen again. It's comedy, if anything. So
I think
that's I mean that's just how I feel, honestly.
I
It's
think
like
it's all
playing
good.
it's like playing
You know?
Vegas now. Like I love it, but it's not like it's the fucking Rat Pack era.
You
It's
can
just
you can dream. I'm pretty sure you could go to places in Vegas and they've got them done up like it's Godfather 2, you know.
oh, they do, yeah. It's a cool place, and I play Brad Garrett's room at the MGM, which is like one of my top 3 clubs in the country, and I love performing there. So I'm lucky that I'm even able to do that. But you do feel that he was a guy who toured with like Sinatra and Sammy Davis, and it's a different thing now. You just kind of have to find your niche audience these days. Either you're Kevin Hart huge, or you just got to find your fan base.
What's Kevin Hart huge for? I tried to watch his last special on Netflix. It was terrible. I got 15 minutes in and I was like, what is this?
It's middle of the road, man. People love that. It's a perfect. I mean, I think he's genuinely funny if you see him live, but he's very very good at mastering that. Just kind of like he's just dirty enough, but he's just safe enough. And then he does movies like Jumanji that people are gonna rush out and
Did you
see.
say Jumanji? What's that?
Jumanji?
Is that what you said?
No, there's a movie. You don't know what Jumanji is?
Jumanji? Is that
Is that
is
what I said?
Rob?
Did
I
I
think that's
pronounce
what you
it?
said at the start. Maybe
Did I
I misheard
pronounce?
it. I don't
I
know.
I think I pronounced Jumanji right, but it could be Jumanji.
No, but I just imagined like
It's about his
is that
manager.
I thought Jumanji could be like a board game about Jewish people or something. I don't
I think it is.
know. Hey, Robin Williams, you got to make Jumanji
Yeah,
2. I'm gonna hang myself.
it's all slumlord properties. Nobody goes to jail.
Tell me this. We never spoke of this. On this week of Bourdain's hanging, who's
Yeah,
the uh, who was the lady who hung herself? Kate Spade,
Kate
Dave
Spade.
Spade's
Kate Spade.
sister-in-law or something as
Yeah,
well.
sister-in-law. Yeah,
What is going on? Why are so many people hanging themselves?
I just think it's depression. I don't think it's anything new. I think we're hearing more about it than ever before. But I know a lot of people that have taken their own lives. I also think that the drugs that people are on aren't beneficial. I think that we're pumping a lot of stuff into people's brains without even being aware of what it actually does. I think it plays into school shootings. I think it plays into a depression. I think it plays into a lot of the stuff that's going on right now. And I mean, it definitely seems more common with celebrities than before. I'll give you
Well,
that.
you would hear of it. Like if this happened to like a regular Joe 2 streets up from you, you'd never hear about it. Just someone died. They'd never talk about it. You know.
And I think the suicide rate is pretty huge right now. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the drugs that are prescribed to prevent depression. I'd be
I've
curious
heard,
to know what he was on, to be honest.
well, I'm surprised anyone heard about the suicide. Normally, that's kept pretty tight-lipped, but I guess
Well,
making
thank
fun of
God
TMZ guy and shit.
Rose McGowan has big, silly lips and is happy to come out and take responsibility or to
What's going
shit
on with
her.
that woman?
I don't know. She's the one that came out and said, "Don't blame his wife. It was a suicide. He tried to contact me before."
I heard she's been indicted for cocaine possession or something.
A
Like,
bunch of drugs she got caught with. Yeah,
you know,
I'm not surprised. I mean, that's her career's falling apart. She's a drug addict, and now she's this.
there's a term of phrase. You've got a wild neck on you. It means that you're very outspoken, but it goes double for her because she's got such a big neck. It's like a
Right.
tree. It's like a tree with a little tiny pinhead on top of it.
Yeah, that is very true.
I don't
I
understand.
had
I think she probably burned most of her bridges, and there's nothing else she can get done except just boot nonsense.
and then yeah, writing books that it's all. I mean, I think it's good to report sexual harassment and to stop it. I just
At the
feel that
time,
yeah, had she done it 20 years ago, then she could have called her book brave. Not now.
she doesn't even have pictures. Everyone these days has pictures of everything.
Yeah, it's
How do you
really
not have
just
a
what.
recording or a picture or anything of any of this?
Yeah, just what she says happened, and when you look at the source, you're like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to jump on every word she says as fact. Now, if I look at Harvey Weinstein, I certainly do believe that he jerks off into plants and asks you to watch him shower. He seems like that kind of fellow, but it doesn't mean that everything she says is gospel.
Where do you think that even comes from? Watch me take a shower. What? Like,
I think.
what's that?
I think that comes from insecurity about his own body and the way he looks, and the fact that he's not a very attractive-looking man.
So
So that, in
he has
some
to
way,
make people
gives.
watch him wash, so they think he's cleaner, or he thinks that people think he's dirty, so he has to wash in front of them
No, I feel that
before
that
he.
too. I just, yes, I think that's it. Yeah, just I think it maybe makes him feel a certain way of attractive. He's probably just was lonely and got no play for his entire life. And then finally he was older and had power, and God knows how much creepy shit he had been doing to himself to stay
Do you think there's
entertained.
an element of? Do you remember Dustin Diamond Screech from
Yeah, he made a
Saved by the
porn tape.
Bell?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was claiming that it was between him and friends, and they were circulating these tapes, and they were trying to go bigger and wilder all the time. You think Weinstein was in some sort of company like that, where he was like, "So then I took a shower in front of her and jerked off on a plant. You are wild, Harvey,
Yeah.
wild."
Oh, I think it probably was, but the cause was probably him and his brother. But yeah, that's probably very possible.
The brother disappeared, right? He quit and just went to
Yeah,
ground very
just
quickly.
yeah, just walked away. And well, and I think yeah, I mean, I think it's very possible. I mean, guys, you'll boast about like, yeah, man, I totally fucked that chick. But I don't know how many guys are like, yeah, she watched me bathe and I jerked off in a plant and I did it at the hotel 3 blocks from my house and my wife didn't know. It's just fucking stupid.
Man, I got like real life problems, but this guy's got like I don't know. It's too much time to fix. Like, how do you even get down it? This is like
Just yeah,
having an
all that.
addiction of crazy stuff.
And look at the guy. I mean, oh, you can look at him and go, okay, he eats a lot. He probably drinks a lot, and then he fucks a lot, or what his version. Like he's the embodiment of Hollywood in a guy.
Well, whatever you're saying, he's not hanging himself, so he must be doing something right.
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't, but good for him. Hats off. Bourdain's taken his life, but fucking Plant Jizz McGee is still hanging around for real. So
He's waiting for the
anyway,
sequel.
oh,
Like
I
all
hate
good
to
producers.
I hate to cut this short, my friend. I enjoy talking to you. I gotta
No
split
problem.
the
This has been a very enjoyable interview. Thank you very much for your time,
dude.
Dave. Your
Let's do it
YouTube again
again.
is Your YouTube again is the DT Landau. Follow him over there. Hopefully, there'll be a trailer coming up for Div's feature-length movie that he made. How many years ago?
I made it in 13 and released it in 15.
All right. I look forward to seeing that. Thank you very much for your time, Div.
Thank
it's been
you.
fun talking to you. Okay.
Good talking to you, man. Appreciate it.
See you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.